What's going on, guys? Billy Davison here with another pressure washing video. In this pressure washing video, we're going to focus more on pressure washing homes. There's going to be a lot of information in this video, so I encourage you to stay to the end. The video is a little long and I don't have a script to go by, so we're going to just sort of kind of ad lib over this video of this particular home that we pressure wash. And I think this is going to give you a lot of information on some tactics and techniques of pressure washing one of these houses, how to market for some of this type of work, and even how to price it. Now, we acquired this project from one of our yard signs. If you have been doing yard signs to get pressure washing jobs, you know sometimes it can be a daunting task. People steal your sign. Sometimes the signs are ineffective. Sometimes you go put out a bunch of signs and you don't get any results from it, and that is very frustrating. If you're interested on how I do my particular yard sign strategy, there'll be a link down in the description for a small training video that can teach you exactly how to do your yard signs with optimal results. So I wanted to take step by step on this video how we acquired this job. Obviously, like I just said, it was from one of our yard signs. Now, once you get that call, there's several ways that you can go out and estimate one of these projects. You could do what I call a remote bidding or remote estimate. I'm not a big fan of that, and I'm going to explain to you why, but that is definitely one way you could do it. You can go on Google Earth and get some images of the house, measure out the square footage, and shoot them over a price. And a lot of times you have to be much higher than you would normally be, just because there is so much stuff you're not going to be able to see just from a Google Earth image. So again, that is one way to do it. And that way you're not burning gas. You're not having to go out and meet people and spend that time. So that's going to be a numbers game. You'll probably have to do 10 or 15 of those estimates just to get one job off of it. My other way that I like to do it is have the customer send us photographs of their home. This involves the customer, and that could be very important. And usually what I ask them to do is send about 8 to 12 pictures of the surfaces that they want cleaned in any problematic areas. And I put that exact verbiage in my text message to them or their email, the problematic areas. That lets them kind of get a feel for what they're dealing with. Oftentimes they know their house is dirty, but they've never really checked it out in high detail. And if they're out there taking pictures of the home, then they're getting to look at those pictures and they can see exactly what you're going to see. And that way it does kind of validate your cost of what you're going to shoot them over back in a price. So that's a second way you can do it. That is a very effective way to do it. But the most effective way to do it is a little bit more time consuming, but I can pretty much land about 80 to 90% of my jobs by going out and looking at the job in person, meeting with the homeowner, walking the property with them, giving them some options for upsells. And that is the most effective, but it does have definitely a time penalty in it. Obviously, you're taking your time to go do this. You're burning fuel, you're putting mileage on your vehicle. So you really need to choose which method is best for you. And I also recommend doing a variety of all three methods to see which one is working best for you, and then focusing down on the one that is getting the better results. But again, I always feel that it's best to create a relationship with the customer. That way you can use your upsells, you can use leverage of other friends and family that may need that service that they know. And also, in addition to that, most people work somewhere, so you could also leverage that new customer, once you have a happy customer, to pass along your business information to their superiors at their work. This particular job right here, these people worked at a warehouse. We leveraged that relationship with this customer, and now we're going to do some parking lot striping at that particular warehouse. So that is a really good way that you can acquire new customers, especially if you're visiting them in person. Like we talked about in our third tactic, actually going physically walk the property with that customer, building that relationship with them. And also you get a good feel for how they are. They get a good feel how you are, what you look like, what type of equipment you have, and just start to build that relationship. Also, when I am visiting with a customer in person, I always ask them which water faucet do they prefer us use. And that lets them know right off the bat we're going to be using their water, no questions asked. And a lot of times they say it doesn't matter, or they prefer us use a certain water faucet over another. So that's another good benefit of visiting in person. Obviously, you could do that through text message, but I think it just comes across a little bit better if you're there in person with the customer. Now, once you're there and you got the job lead, you've met with the customer, whether it's through text message or in person, now we have to price this thing out. And I get a lot of questions on how you price out residential houses. And there's really no one size fits all, especially with residential houses. With commercial buildings and flat work like big parking lots, you can use a square footage and pretty much go across the board, and that's your standard pricing. But when it comes to people's homes, there's so many variety and different scenarios that you're going to come across. Do they have porches? Do they have patios? Do they have exterior buildings such as carports and such like that? Is the roof dirty? Do the gutters need cleaned out? Should you spot free clean the windows afterwards? How many outlets there is to cover? So there's so many varieties in pricing some of this type of residential work, but I'm gonna give you a good foundation how you can start pricing some of this work with optimal results. And again, before we get into the pricing, you have to have the proper lead generation so you can do some of this type of work and be able to price it accordingly, because you don't want to be the cheapest guy on the block, but also you don't want to be the most expensive guy on the block. So you have to have that lead generation to find that optimal pricing for your particular area. But we're going to go over some standard pricing practices that would probably most likely be effective for 80 to 90% of the United States. And again, when it comes to lead generation, you want to optimize your Google My Business listing. Obviously, you want to have a Facebook business page. You want to have vehicle signs. And also, I'm a big proponent of yard signs. We get about 50% of all of our residential jobs just off of yard signs. And again, if you need to find out exactly how we do our yard sign strategy, there'll be some information down in the description. So when it comes to pricing, I do try to have a minimum, and you should too. You can't go out and even wash a dog's bowl for, a certain price. You have to have that minimum to show up to pull out the equipment. I've had customers want us to come pressure wash one piece of a sidewalk, a swing, and the doghouse, let's say. And whether it's just that or I'm washing more, I got to have a minimum just to pull my equipment out the shop and get there. Now, I do understand if we're running routes that day and we have 5 or 6 other houses to pressure wash, could we stop in there and make $150? Yes, you can, but you don't want to make that out of a habit. You need a minimum. Our minimum to wash anything, now this is in Louisiana, but just for me to put their address in my GPS and head that away with my rig, it's going to be a $325 minimum. Like I said, whether it's just a piece of sidewalk or just a doghouse, either one is a $325 minimum. And you need to set those standards. Whatever your minimum is, you need to adhere to that. It helps you build respect with your customers in a big way. So again, our minimum's $325. Yours might be $225 or yours might be $525. Whatever you set your minimum at, try to adhere to it as much as you can. Now, as far as pricing, you can go with the square footage on residential houses, but it doesn't tell the complete story of how to develop a pricing strategy when you're pressure washing residential houses. But in general, I will take the square footage of the home. Let's say in this case, it's a 1.5 story. I really don't try to beat the customer up too much when it comes to a 2-story house, but just because our equipment really doesn't care if it's 1 story, 2-story. And usually if you're running the proper equipment too, you can do a 2-story about as easy as you can do a 1-story, but you still want to optimize your pricing strategy and leverage that to the customer. Say, hey, you do have a 2-story house, so it's an extra $50 or $60 more. Even though it almost doesn't matter to our equipment, you can still gain a few dollars there, but still not gouging your customer, but still letting them know the value of it, because they're looking at their 2-story house as you probably need ladders and stuff like that. And we all know we don't need a ladder even on a 2 or 3-story usually. So I always bring that up to the customer. But as far as when it comes to price and residential, I take the entire square footage under the roof area. Now, again, this could change a lot if you got an external carport like you have here. So that would be measured differently. But under the roof area, I take that figure and times it by 0.18, which would be 18 cents per square foot. So for example, if you have a 2,000 square foot home that's under the roof area, I would take 2,000 and multiply that by 0.18, which would give you $360. Now, again, that's not a one size fits all. Sometimes this $360 for a 2,000 square foot house is a little high. Sometimes it's a little low. That is why I like to really visit these jobs in person. Now, in addition, you have, like in this case, an external carport. We have some sidewalks, patio areas, and that sort of thing. And I would do the same thing for the external carports if they have something like that. If you can tell it's a regular building, it's not just like a shed, then you can still do your square footage pricing like I just described. Now, if it's just a shed, well, like a drop area is, one of those type of carports where it's not an actual structure, then you can just probably price that out at about $75 per hour. Oftentimes you can do some of those in 30 to 40 minutes, and you just kind of round it up to $50 or something. Now, when it comes to the sidewalks, driveways, patio areas, usually I like to do the square footage on that. And I also like to look at it because how much furniture and stuff you got to move, plants, the dog bowls, rugs. Sometimes these customers don't want to touch anything, so you're going to be moving all this stuff back and forth. And then what do you do if you're moving the patio table and you notice it's horrible green? And you can't just leave it if you're like me, so you want to wash that too. So that way you can kind of look at all of that in person. Now, when it comes to doing the driveways and stuff like that, I do like to do residential square footage at about 25 cents per square foot, just because you don't have the incredible volume of concrete like you would in a parking lot. You want to be able to charge at least 25 cents per square foot, because oftentimes once you clean the driveway, then you got to re-rinse the house, or you may have some cars to move. It's a lot involved when you're doing residential homes. And that's not to scare you off for doing residential homes. You can make tons of money doing it. It's just to kind of bring that to the focus and your attention, what you could be dealing with when pressure washing around people's homes. And a lot of times we found that a lot of our customers that want their house pressure washed and they're not doing it themselves, they pretty much want a turnkey job. They don't want to have to deal with it. They want to hire a professional company to come in there and take care of everything, clean everything, put everything back like it never happened, and they don't have to do anything. So that is what you need to look at and convey that to your customers as well. Let them know you're moving this furniture out the way. That means you got to have an extra person there. Then do they want the swings cleaned, the chairs, and that sort of thing? So some of that can be time consuming. So you want to be able to charge for that money. Now, like I said, if you charge 25 cents per square foot on flat work on residential, then you have 30 minutes of furniture stuff you got to move in and out, taking things off the wall. Well, that's going to be an extra charge as well. And they need to definitely pay for it or either do it themselves because you deserve it. One other thing I want to talk about when pressure washing residential houses, I have never did a contract on a home, especially residential. That being said, you can do it if you want, but I find that most customers don't want to sign some complicated contract, 7 to 8 pages long about everything that could go wrong and what you're going to do and what you're not going to do for this X amount of dollars. Oftentimes it's a verbal agreement. I do also like to put this in a text message. Even if we have a verbal agreement, I'll let the homeowner know, hey, I'm going to text you everything that we talked about today with our price. That way you will have a record of it, and I will too. Because I look at so many jobs a day and we do so many a week, and I just kind of use that line, and it is absolutely true. Sometimes I may look at 8 or 10 jobs in a 2-day period, but I always let the homeowner know that we're going to text over everything that we discussed, just so we'll both be able to remember everything. And usually that is good with the customer, obviously. And if there is ever a problem with it, you have that text message as proof of what y'all discussed. And then you're obviously doing the job and you have before and after pictures of every job that you do. That way, if the customer ever does opt in and try not to pay you or slow paying you, you do have proof that you've done the job, and you could, in a very rare situation, have to go file a lien against the home. And that's generally how we work all of our residential homes. And then obviously they pay us with a check or either a credit card, and make it really easy for that customer to pay you. A lot of customers here in the last 5 to 10 years are paying with credit cards. So sign up with some type of credit card processing payment system. I tend to use Square. I'm not affiliated with them at all in any way, shape, or form, but it's been working for us for the past 10 years. And yeah, they do get a little percentage out of it. But if you think about, if the customer hands you a paper check, then you got to go deposit it or mobile deposit it, whatever you're doing. That takes a little time. With a digital payment like through Square or some other type of credit card processing stuff, it's instant. And also you have a record of it. You got the customer's name. If you're going to send them a payment link, you can put notes in it, such as their address. Obviously, you know how much you're charging because the price is in there. That way, when you look at it and as a repeat customer in the future, you have all that information in there. And with Square, they send the customer a receipt to their email. So, what better options do you have? They got a receipt for it. You got a receipt for it. And that's for repeat customers. Because many times when we go back and repeat this customer, we want to increase our price slightly, sometimes 3 to 5% over a 12-month period. And sometimes not, just depending. But if you do increase the price 3 or 5%, and I've had some customers say, well, I didn't know I paid you that much last time. Well, here's your receipt. And you got a copy of it too in your email, and they can look at it and see. So, that is helpful. Now, if they handed you a paper check, obviously if you do a mobile deposit or if you bringing it to your bank, you want to get a copy of it some kind of way. For years, I just took pictures of people's checks, and I had that information in my phone or stored on my iPad. So think about that whenever you're pressure washing homes. Don't try to overcomplicate it. I know I've seen some guys out here on YouTube and Facebook that just make this extremely complicated, and it doesn't have to be. At the end of the day, you're providing a service for a customer that wants to pay you X amount of dollars to clean their home. You're going to be coming back doing it probably once a year. Some of our customers are every 6 months. So don't overcomplicate it. Just go out there and get the work done. Make that money and keep that lead generation coming in. That way you can stay busy year round. And then don't forget to leverage these customers for commercial clients or other people they may know in the area. Also, if they're part of a HOA, that is an incredible way to get new business. If they could post you on the HOA website or app, that is incredible because it's basically social proof, and other people in the neighborhood can ride by and see your work. And don't forget to put your yard signs out in the front yard while you're pressure washing the house, but take them when you leave. I know a lot of guys want to leave their yard sign in the customer's yard for several days. That usually doesn't work out too well. So take your signs when you leave. You can always do your 5 rounds or your 10 rounds, but make sure you're doing your yard sign strategy correct. We teach a lot of this on my website. The link will be down in the description. There's a ton of information down there on pressure washing, soft washing roofs, chemical ratio charts, parking lot striping. What can I say? Parking lot striping. Don't even get me started on it. I love it. We just actually got back from out of state doing a parking lot striping job. I'm going to be putting that on here on YouTube when I get a few free minutes of time to upload it. So y'all make sure y'all hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Just about 60% of the people that watch our videos have not hit that subscribe button. So if you made it this far in the video, do me a big favor and hit that subscribe button. And if y'all need any help, my phone number is on my website, which that link will be down in the description, where you can contact me directly if you got any questions about any of our training courses on our website. Well, guys, anyway, I hope this video was helpful. I've been wanting to make it for quite some time. I know it was long and I need something to drink, so I think I'm gonna go fix me a glass of iced tea, and I surely hope to see you all in the next video.